Chicago's Union Station, starting and ending point for most of America's iconic western routes, including the California Zephyr, Southwest Chief, and the one I am boarding today, the Empire Builder. The Empire Builder runs from Chicago north through Wisconsin and Minnesota before heading west across northern North Dakota, Montana, and Washington, ending in Seattle. An alternate route breaks off in Spokane and heads down to follow the Columbia River to Portland. This is the route I will be taking. There's some amazing scenery through western Montana, including views of Glacier National Park. Unfortunately for me, due to the train schedule and the short February days, I will be passing through that scenery in the dark. But that's a future me concern. It's time to move into my home for the next 42 hours and get settled in for the journey. I booked a roomette, 2 seats by day that make into a bunk at night, with an additional bunk up above. Very comfortable for one person. There's a bathroom down the hall. Long-distance rail travel in a sleeper car is not just a way to get somewhere. It is a unique travel experience. Once you step on the train, your every need is taken care of. All you have to do is sit back and enjoy the ride. You see places that you will never see from an airplane or a car. So relaxing, and 2 nights is just about the perfect amount of time. Once we got rolling, downtown Chicago quickly turned to the suburbs, and then it got rural. Soon enough, we were passing through Milwaukee. As the sun began to set over northern Wisconsin, I began to realize that it wasn't just western Montana and Idaho that I would be passing through in the dark. It was also Minnesota. Knowing I was going to miss the lakes of Minnesota was a bummer, but this gorgeous Midwest sunset kind of made up for it. Okay, maybe not. What did help was knowing that I had one of Amtrak's signature flat iron steaks in my immediate future. Those steaks are so good. Just after I finished stuffing my face, it was our time for our first fresh air break in Winona, Minnesota. Yes, it was in the dark. With the obligatory selfie with the sign and a leisurely stroll up and down the platform completed, the all aboard sent me scurrying back to my roomette to settle in for the night. I pulled out my Kindle to get some reading in, then I closed the curtains, tried to get some much needed sleep. It had been a long day. Good morning, Minot, North Dakota. Our car attendant T made sure to wake us up to the smell of hot, fresh coffee before 6 a.m. So I was definitely ready for our first stop of the day. Gotta be careful going down these stairs. They are steep and that hallway is tight. While the engines are being fueled and the train is being serviced, we have some time to explore the station. Built in 1905, it has undergone numerous renovations over the decades, with the last restoration being completed in 2013. I think they did a very nice job. After a yummy breakfast of scrambled eggs, bacon, potatoes, and more coffee in the dining car, I was back in my roomette, ready for a big day of doing a whole lot of nothing. Like me, my neighbors across the hall enjoyed finding out about the places we were seeing, so we shared fun facts that we were finding on the internet as we rolled along. Through North Dakota and into Montana, the Empire Builder route joins the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail on and off, and passes through areas steeped in Wild West history. Continuing on through Montana, we made a short stop in Glasgow. Glasgow has the distinction of being the geographical center of North America, or as the townspeople prefer to call it, the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden it was lunchtime. Down to the dining car, and I chose the loaded baked potato with vegan chili. Really tasty, gluten-free, and incredibly filling. Highly recommend it. Agriculture has been king here for generations. Nearly half of the beef cattle raised in the U.S. are raised here in the Great Plains. Besides feed for the ranchers' cattle, area's farmers also produce durum wheat, peas, and lentils for domestic markets and export. This has changed over recent decades, though. This run along northern North Dakota and into the plains of eastern Montana is atop the Bakken Formation of the Williston Basin, an underground geological feature that has rich petroleum, coal, and potash deposits. The development of fracking technology has led to the area becoming the third largest onshore oil-producing area in the U.S., behind Texas and California. Shortly thereafter, we met up with the eastbound Empire Builder. It was fun trying to catch someone on there waving back at us.
May I have your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. Our next station stop will be Havre, Montana. We're going to make 2 stops at Havre. First stop will be a fuel stop. At this point, no one can exit the train. Approximately 10 minutes later, we'll pull up to the station where you can get off and get a breath of fresh air. Have a smoke break. We're arriving early in Havre, so you'll be able to have a couple smoke breaks, but we have to ask, please do not wander off, do not leave the station or platform area. To be able to hear all boarding calls, when you hear that all board, please step back from the train immediately so we can depart. Also, please be careful on the platform, it may be slick. Once again, Havre, next stop.
Havre has 2 stories about its name. The boring one. Originally named Bullock Bottoms, the town held a series of meetings to agree on a new name. The strong French influence of the original settlers led them to deciding on the name Havre, after one of the settlers' parents' hometown in France, Le Havre, or Havre, I don't know. The funner story has 2 French-Canadian squatters, Gus and Joe, getting into a fight over the attention of a charming young lady. Joe ended up getting the best of it. Gus then said, "Well, you can have her," and thus the town was named. At dusk, we stopped in Shelby for another fresh air break. The saloon across the way had me wishing we could stay longer for some dancing and some drinking. I didn't end up staying out until the all aboard. This California cold wussy doesn't do 20 degrees. I had dinner delivered to my room that evening. The salmon was really good. Night fell again and the sleeper car was quiet. We stopped at West Glacier for a fresh air break at 9:30. This is actually one of the most anticipated stops on most Empire Builder trips, but none of us even got off the train. I lay back and once again contemplated the error of my ways before drifting off to sleep. The smell of freshly made coffee is our alarm clock, and hey, we're already in Washington. Couple cups of that coffee, we've arrived at our first fresh air break of the day in Pasco, Washington. While we were sleeping, our train split in two. 2 coach cars, a sleeper, and the dining car all went off to Seattle, while we kept the observation lounge and cafe car, 2 coaches, and our sleeper car. Losing the dining car was a real bummer. Instead of choosing from a menu of a real cooked breakfast, we got to pick from 3 different microwavable breakfast items from the cafe. These omelet cups were the only gluten-free option, and while they didn't taste bad, They certainly didn't compare to breakfast the day before. Eating them in the observation car while we rolled along the Columbia River as the sun poked through the fog was pretty stellar, though. The next few hours had me glued to my window. To be honest, this final morning made up for what I missed seeing over the past 2 nights. Yes, mistakes were made, but sitting watching this scenery go by, I had no regrets. One of those truly unique train experiences. After we stopped in Vancouver, they had to back the train out so we could get onto the bridge across the river into Portland. Since our car was the last one in the train, I got to watch as the conductors did their thing. That was pretty cool. After backing our way out, we had to sit and wait for about 15 minutes while other trains cleared the bridge. Soon enough, we were rolling again, crossing the Columbia River and on into Portland. We arrived into Portland's Union Station about 15 minutes late, which was fine with me because I was going to be sitting around for the next 2 hours waiting for my next train, the Coast Starlight, down to Sacramento. Watch for my next video where I talk about my 16 hours in coach. Thanks for watching.